Hook, you ever get a text so cold it makes you laugh out loud? Yeah, that was mine last week. Last Tuesday, 3:02 p.m. My phone buzzed while I was elbow deep in client reports, sipping lukewarm coffee and pretending I cared about margins. The notification banner just said Mom. I stared at it for a few seconds, half hoping, half dreading. Then I opened it. Christmas dinner. 6 p.m. Bring dessert if you want. No greeting, no hey Jazz, no heart emoji, not even a goddamn period. Just that like I was the intern assigned to pick up the pie for a team meeting. Not the daughter who paid for her sister's entire freshman year and bailed dad out of his IRS nightmare 2 summers ago. I stared at that text for way too long, thumb hovering over the keyboard, typing and deleting things like, "What the hell?" or "Thanks for the warm invite, Diane." But in the end, I didn't say anything. I just replied, "Sure, see you then." Because apparently that's who I still am. Jasmine Hartley, the responsible one, the provider, the walking ATM with a law degree and no boundaries. WTF, right? I spent the rest of the day walking around my apartment like someone slapped me and I couldn't figure out who. My apartment high-rise in Midtown, small but sleek, suddenly felt too quiet. I turned off my work email, tossed my phone on the couch, and stood there staring at my reflection in the kitchen window. The person looking back at me didn't look angry. She looked tired. Not physically. No, I sleep just fine these days. But tired. The kind of tired that settles into your bones when you realize nothing you do will ever be enough. And yeah, I was pissed. Because I already knew how this dinner was going to go down. It'd be the same show. It's always been Diane playing host, like we're the damn Kennedys, my half-sisters Ellie and Tessa, acting like I'm a stranger who snuck in with the catering staff. Dad smiling silently like he's allergic to confrontation. And me, sitting there with my famous pecan pie, pretending we're one big happy family. But this year I wasn't just bringing pie. Flashback. A year ago. 1 year ago, I hit my limit. Ellie had just launched her Dumb Clean beauty line, and guess who she called when her investor backed out? Yup, me. I wired her 25 grand without blinking, told her to write up a real pitch deck next time. She promised it'd be the last time. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Then Tessa got evicted. Again. Because apparently running a boutique means you can't pay rent or budget for utilities. I covered that too. Said it was a loan. Never saw a dime. Meanwhile, Mom's sorry Diane had the audacity to throw a fit when I skipped Thanksgiving because I was working a high-profile case in D.C. Called me self-absorbed. Said family's not a convenience, Jasmine. You know what else isn't a convenience, Diane? Being your financial punching bag for 15 years. Back to now. It's Christmas Eve and I'm standing in the aisle at Whole Foods debating whether to bring a store-bought pie or bake the damn thing like always. I grab the pecans anyway because apparently I still have hope. Hope that maybe someone will say thank you this year. Or at least remember I exist when it's not an emergency. Cut to 600 p.m. sharp. The Hartley house in the Hamptons looks like it belongs on a Pottery Barn cover. Lights perfectly strung, wreaths aligned with military precision. I park across the street gripping the warm pie tray like it might actually protect me from what's inside. I step up the walkway. No one greets me at the door. I walk into the smell of rosemary and roast and the sound of laughter that stops short the second I enter. Classic. Diane gives me a smile so tight it could crack her Botox. "Oh, Jasmine," she says like I'm a surprise guest who showed up uninvited to a wedding. Ellie waves from the couch, manicured fingers fluttering like she's too busy to stand. Tessa barely glances up from her phone. I place the pie on the kitchen counter. No one thanks me. And then it begins. Over dinner, Diane raises a glass. We're all so grateful to Jasmine for covering this year's Christmas budget. Truly. Wait, what? I nearly choke on my wine. I didn't agree to that. No one even asked me. But now everyone's nodding like it's gospel. Tessa smirks. Ellie claps slowly. Someone mutters, "She always comes through." I want to scream, but I don't. I just smile. Tight. Civil. And I file it away like a lawyer does when she's building a case. Because that's what this is now. A case. And I've got evidence. Receipts, emails, wire transfers, Venmo logs, bank statements, all compiled in a little blue folder tucked in my purse. This isn't just dinner. This is the prelude. They think I'm the same Jasmine, but they have no idea what's coming. Last night was Christmas Eve. Today I'm finally doing something I should have done years ago. Let me back up a bit. After that toast, Diane made Jasmine paid for Christmas this year like it was some kind of charity trophy. I sat there stunned for exactly 7 seconds. I was holding my wine glass but not drinking. My mouth was dry anyway. I scanned the room. Not a single face looked shocked, not even confused. This had been planned. That's when it hit me. They'd already had the conversation without me. They talked about my money, my time, my generosity, like it was a shared resource they could budget around. Like I was a trust fund instead of a daughter. I set my glass down, carefully, no clinks, no drama. Just calculation. The dinner kept going. Tessa bragged about some influencer deal in Miami. Said her boutique was thriving, which is hilarious because I saw the foreclosure notice last month when she accidentally sent me the wrong email attachment. Ellie gushed about her cosmetics line's organic rise, conveniently skipping over the part where I paid off her startup debt 3 separate times. Dad sat there buttering his roll like none of this concerned him. Classic Wallace Hartley. He'll die before he gets involved in anything remotely uncomfortable. And Diane? She floated around the table like a fucking empress, topping off everyone's wine and pretending she hadn't just ambushed me in front of a room full of smug, greedy parasites. That was the moment I knew I wasn't staying till dessert. The second I finished my plate, barely touched the turkey, skipped the mashed potatoes, I excused myself, said I needed some air. Nobody cared. Nobody noticed. I went out to the driveway, climbed into my car, and yanked my folder from the passenger seat. Not the one with the pie recipe, the real folder, the one I'd been building since June. Every receipt, every wire transfer, every goddamn just this once text they ever sent me. I flipped through it even though I knew every page by heart. I'd highlighted the worst parts. Allie, June 3rd. Sis, if I don't pay this supplier tomorrow, they'll blacklist me. Can you spot me $10K just till the end of the month? Tessa. July 28th. I hate to ask again, but my boutique got hit with a surprise fine. I promise I'll Venmo you next Friday. Diane. Every fucking holiday season. We're just a little short this year, Jazzy. Think you could handle the food and decor again. And like an idiot, I always did. Until now. I stood in that driveway for a long time, looking up at the stars, gripping that folder like it was a grenade. And maybe it was. I wasn't angry, not exactly. I was done. That's a different flavor of emotion entirely. It's quiet, it's clear, it's final. When I walked back into the house, I didn't go to the dining room. I went straight to the living room and dropped the folder on the coffee table right between the eggnog and the overpriced potpourri bowl. Then I walked back into the kitchen. Allie, I said, calm as hell, could you come here for a sec? She followed me, her stilettos clacking like she thought this was about to be some sisterly chat. What's up? I brought receipts, I said. She blinked. Like actual receipts? Yep. Printed, highlighted, labeled, alphabetized. Thought it might be time we all got clear on how much of my life you've been draining. I walked past her back into the living room and sat down. Family meeting, I called, now. They trickled in, Tessa first, looking annoyed, probably thinking I was about to lecture them. Then Diane, still sipping her wine like she was above it all. Wallace wandered in after clearly wishing he was somewhere else. And finally, Allie, arms crossed, fake confused smile plastered on her face. No one touched the folder, so I opened it myself. First page. A color-coded summary of total amounts lent, read given to each of them over the last 5 years. Allie, $87,450. Tessa, $41,300. Diane, $19,220. Wallace, $6,900. I didn't say anything. I just let the numbers sit there in the silence like landmines. Where'd you get that? Tessa asked, her voice suddenly small. From my bank, I said. From your texts. From every time you needed me to fix something you broke. Diane's nostrils flared. This feels calculated, I interrupted, because it is. Allie reached for the folder, skimmed the first few pages, and paled. You kept all this? Damn right I did. But why? Tessa asked. Because you never saw me as family, I said. Just a safety net. Diane scoffed. You think money is everything? No, I said quietly. But you all sure did. That's when the room turned. Wallace finally spoke. Maybe this isn't the time. Oh, I think it's exactly the time, I snapped. You've all used me like a silent investor. Except I never got equity, never got credit, never even got a fucking thank you. Allie looked like she might cry. Tessa looked like she wanted to throw something. Diane, she still wore that tight little smirk like she'd win the argument if she just outlasted me. You know what the best part is? I said, standing up. I'm not asking for any of it back. I'm not here for apologies. I'm here to sever ties. That got their attention. What do you mean? Wallace asked. I'm out, I said. No more loans, no more favors, no more pretending. I pulled out a second envelope, thicker, more serious. Inside legal documents, a notarized letter removing myself from all shared accounts, a statement revoking my role as Diane's financial proxy, a signed withdrawal from the family trust. Diane reached for it like it might bite her. "This is ridiculous," she said. "No," I replied. "This is what boundaries look like." For the first time in years, I saw something shift in Allie's face, maybe fear, maybe shame. She looked down at the papers, then up at me. "But you're still our sister." "No," I said, "I was your solution." I picked up my coat, buttoned it slowly. "Merry Christmas," I said, voice low but steady. "Don't call me." And then I walked out. No slamming doors, no dramatic exit. Just silence, the kind that means something's finally over. This morning I woke up in my own bed. No guilt, no calls, no fake family cheer, just the sound of my coffee brewing and the realization that I was finally free. The next day I didn't check my phone, not because I was scared but because I honestly didn't care, and damn, that felt good. The night before had been surgical. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I didn't need to. I'd laid everything on the table literally and left them to choke on the truth. After years of being their emotional punching bag, their financial first responder, their walking lifeline, I'd cut the cord. And the silence that followed? It wasn't loneliness. It was peace. I lit a candle, cinnamon and pine, poured a strong cup of coffee, and stared out my apartment window at the city still wrapped in soft December haze. I didn't feel empty, I felt light. Around 10 a.m. the messages started. "Diane, we said things we didn't mean. You're still part of this family. Tessa, don't let one bad night erase everything. Can we talk, Ellie? I know you're mad, but we're sisters. That has to count for something. Wallace, call me when you're ready. I'm not good at this stuff, but I'm here." I didn't respond. Not because I wanted them to suffer, but because I finally understood something. Their love had terms, their loyalty had limits, their kindness had conditions, and mine had always been unconditional. That's why it hurt so damn much. A couple days passed. No calls, just texts trickling in with increasing desperation. One from Diane even started with, "You don't understand how hard motherhood is." That one made me laugh out loud. Hard lady, you weren't struggling. You were orchestrating. Delegating love like a CEO of Emotional Manipulation Inc. You chose to alienate me. You chose to put Ellie and Tessa on pedestals I built with my own broken back. Nah, I wasn't biting. I kept myself busy. Donated to a local shelter, cleaned my apartment top to bottom, bought myself a new scarf. You know, small, boring, beautiful things. Then on the third day, I checked my mailbox. There it was. A letter. Real pen on real paper. Shaky cursive. Faint scent of lavender and regret. "Rowena," it started. Yeah, she used my birth name because even guilt letters can't help but be manipulative. "We made mistakes. We said hurtful things, but please don't abandon us. Your father misses you. Ellie keeps asking about you. I don't know how to fix this. Please call me. Love, Mom." I sat at my kitchen table just holding that letter. For a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even feel much of anything at first. Just a strange ache where love used to live. An ache shaped like missed birthdays, hollow holidays, and the echo of "you always come through" disguised as praise. And then something even stranger happened. I smiled. Not because I forgave them, but because I saw through them. They hadn't changed, they hadn't learned, they hadn't grown. They were just afraid of losing access. And now that I'd locked the door, they wanted the key back. That night I cooked myself dinner. Real dinner. Steak, roasted potatoes, sautéed asparagus. I even opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. Turns out freedom tastes like Malbec and garlic butter. Duke, my golden retriever, watched me from the couch with his tail thumping slow and steady. I poured him a tiny bowl of chicken broth and we clinked our glasses. "Cheers, buddy," I said, "to never going back." Christmas Day came. No knock on the door, no surprise visits, just stillness, clean, sharp, safe. I decorated the tiny tree in my living room with gold and green ornaments. I wrapped one single gift, my favorite photo of Duke, in a handmade frame. Put it under the tree for myself. Because I deserve that. Not just the gift, the gesture. I curled up under a fuzzy blanket, Duke pressed against my side, and watched reruns of old sitcoms like I used to in college when the world felt too loud. And somewhere in the second episode of The Office, I realized something. I wasn't sad, I was healing. The next few days blurred into something almost magical. Not in a fairy tale way, but in that subtle, soft kind of way you don't notice until it's happening. I wasn't checking my phone every hour. I wasn't rehearsing imaginary arguments in the shower. I wasn't wondering what I did wrong. Because for the first time in years, I knew I didn't do anything wrong. They did. And I finally had the courage to stop apologizing for surviving it. A week later, a new message hit my inbox. It was a photo. Ellie, my niece. She looked about 6, maybe 7. Big brown eyes, holding up a piece of construction paper with glitter glued to the edges and scrawled purple crayon letters. I miss you, Auntie Jazz. And god damn it, that broke me. Because Ellie didn't choose this. She didn't scheme. She didn't guilt trip. She didn't know about money, about betrayal, about silent sacrifices. She just missed me. And I missed her too. I pressed the phone to my chest, closed my eyes. The urge to call her was feral, the kind of pull that makes your throat burn. But I didn't. Not because I didn't love her, but because I did. And loving her meant not letting them weaponize her, not using her as bait, not letting her be a bridge between someone healing and someone still hell-bent on control. So I whispered into the quiet, I miss you too, baby girl. Then I turned the phone face down and walked away. The new year rolled in without drama. I watched the fireworks over the Hudson from my rooftop. Alone. Not lonely. Just still. And in that stillness, I finally found the answer to the question that had haunted me every holiday, every birthday, every dinner where I paid the bill. What do you owe people who only love you for what you give them? Answer: nothing. 3 weeks after Christmas, the universe did the one thing I didn't ask for. It kept talking. I was halfway through a beginner's pottery class in Soho. Yes, the kind with wine and terrible clay giraffes, when I got a message from Julia. We hadn't talked in almost a year. She used to be friends with Allie but cut ties after the spa retreat incident. Don't ask, it involves a chargeback scam, a stolen hotel robe, and way too much Prosecco. Her text just said, "Girl, have you seen Allie's Insta oof?" I hadn't. I didn't care to. But curiosity, yeah, that's still a thing. So I checked. And there it was. Her once polished grid had turned into a frantic mess of update, coming soon tiles, and cryptic captions like, "Sometimes people you trust turn on you when you're at your most vulnerable." Please, you were vulnerable when I covered your $12,000 branding emergency, not now that your followers are asking where the inventory is. 2 hours later, another text. This one from someone I never expected: Gabriel, my old college friend. We used to joke that our families would end up in a courtroom together. Guess what? He was half right, half fucked. He sent me a screenshot. Local biz journal. Boutique faces. Lawsuit over misuse of grant funds. Tessa's boutique, the one I bailed out with a short-term bridge loan last May. Apparently she used pandemic recovery funds to pay for a private chef and a Mexico marketing retreat. The audit report listed nearly $18,000 in questionable expenses. Guess whose name was buried in the fun paperwork as a reference? Yup, mine. That night I poured myself a drink and called my lawyer, just to get ahead of things. She reassured me it was nothing serious yet. But if it escalates, she said, we'll be ready. We'll be ready. God, I loved that phrase. It meant I wasn't alone anymore. It meant someone was watching my back for once. It meant this wasn't a mess I'd have to clean up to protect anyone but me. By the following weekend, it was full-on domino season. Wallace called me, twice. I didn't answer. On the third try, he left a voicemail. His voice was cracked, broken, tired in a way I hadn't heard since I was 10, and he lost his job at the paper mill. Jazz. It's Dad. Things are bad. I didn't know about Dorian's trust changes, I swear to you. Your mother is well. She's not handling it great. I know you're angry, I get it. But please just call me back, please. I didn't. Not because I wanted to punish him, but because the man I used to call Dad never once stood up for me when I was in that dining room being gutted alive. He buttered his roll and disappeared. Actions matter. Silence is an action too. Diane tried next. Not a call, not a message. A Facebook post. A long passive-aggressive essay that started with, "Sometimes the people we love hurt us the most," and ended with, "I just hope she remembers who was there when she needed a ride to law school interviews." Oh, you mean that one time you took a train to Philly and stayed for brunch? Cool. I only covered 3 mortgages, Diane, but let's talk about brunch. The comment section was brutal. I wasn't tagged, but everyone knew. And the people who really knew, they DM'd me screenshots with comments like, "This is peak gaslight. Your mom's playing victim like it's a sport. Girl, I am living for this soft launch drama." I didn't reply, but I saved everyone, just in case. And then there was Shauna. Yeah. Shauna, the last person I ever thought I'd hear from. Ellie's mom. She called me at midnight on a Thursday. I let it go to voicemail. But what I heard? I'll never forget it. Jazz, I know you probably blocked everyone. I know you think I'm part of it, and maybe I was. But Ellie's been crying for you. She made you a birthday card. She doesn't understand what happened. She just keeps saying, why doesn't Aunt Jazz call me anymore? And I don't have the heart to tell her it's because her family is selfish and broken and greedy. I'm sorry, I should have stood up for you. I should have done a lot of things. Then silence. A breath. A whisper. You were the best part of that family. I sat there on my bed in the dark, the screen glowing cold in my hand. No tears, just stillness, just truth. She was late, but she wasn't wrong. The next morning I sent a text. Not to Shauna, not to Diane, not to Wallace, to Ellie. Just a single message on her Kids Safe app, the one I still had access to from when I used to help with remote homework. Happy Friday, superstar. I saw your card. You made me smile so big my face hurt. Miss you like crazy. Always. She sent back a selfie with her tongue sticking out, glitter on her forehead, and the caption, I still have your blanket. It smells like you. And I cried. For the first time in weeks, I let it out. Not for Diane, not for Wallace, not for the fake unity we used to stage for holidays, but for Ellie, for the tiny innocent heart caught in a web of adult failures. By mid-January, the cracks had turned into craters. Allie's business shuttered. A leaked email exposed that she'd misused customer funds for a luxury cruise. Tessa's lawsuit went public. News outlets called her a fashion fraud. Diane and Wallace were seen arguing at a local fundraiser. Witnesses said she slapped him. Twice. And Uncle Dorian charged with financial elder abuse. One of the cousins finally stepped up and blew the whistle. And me, I didn't post about it. I didn't comment. I didn't share a single headline. I sat back, watched the smoke rise from the empire they built with borrowed money and stolen favors, and I let it burn. Because here's the thing about walking away, it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you've given up. Sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. It's saying I am done bleeding for people who sharpen their knives with my name. One night while I was sipping tea and watching reruns of Parks and Rec, I got a message from my lawyer. She'd finished processing the trust separation. Everything was clean, official, final. I was no longer legally attached to anyone in the Hartley family. And for the first time since I was old enough to understand what responsibility meant, I felt untethered. By February, the storm had passed, but it left a quiet I wasn't ready for. No more messages, no more drama, just me, my own story, and the space to finally write the next chapter. Funny thing about silence, at first it feels like relief, but eventually it asks questions, loud ones. Like, who are you now that no one's asking for anything? Who are you when you're not fixing things? It hit me one evening when I was folding laundry. Duke was snoring at my feet. A movie was playing in the background, something soft, indie, forgettable. And I realized there was nothing urgent left to do. For the first time in over a decade, my brain wasn't spinning with numbers and emotional damage control. No last-minute money transfers, no mentally preparing for another manipulative text, no guilt about skipping a call, just socks and silence and peace. I didn't fully realize how deep I'd been buried until I started breathing fresh air again. I got a promotion at the firm, the kind where your name goes on the glass door and people knock before walking into your office. I didn't even celebrate it with anyone. I bought myself a steak dinner toasted with a glass of bourbon and whispered, "You did this, Jazz, to nobody in particular." Because I did. No family connections, no sugar-coated support, just grit, hours, strategy, and quiet self-respect. That meal tasted better than any Christmas dinner I'd ever sat through. In March, I took a trip, alone. Denver of all places. I stayed in a boutique hotel with floral wallpaper and creaky floors. I hiked until my calves screamed. I journaled every night, sometimes just writing, "You're doing fine," over and over. I visited this tiny art museum where the gift shop sold handmade candles and earrings made from old subway tokens. And I realized this was what it looked like when you weren't performing for anyone. No curated Instagram captions, no trying to prove you're not bitter, no needing to sound okay. Just being present, breathing. Then one afternoon I bumped into a woman at a coffee shop. She looked like Diane if Diane had ever worn jeans and messy hair. She was maybe 50, alone, reading a paperback romance and humming to herself. We ended up sharing a table. She noticed the book in my hand, some legal thriller I'd half read a dozen times, and we started talking. About stories, about healing, about family. And at some point I said something I hadn't meant to say out loud. They called me selfish when I stopped letting them bleed me dry. She paused, set her book down and said, "That's not selfish, that's surgery. You cut out what was poisoning you." We sat there in silence for a second. Then we smiled. And that moment, that's when I knew I was never going back. Spring came, slowly, beautifully. I started painting again. Badly, but not for anyone but me. I reconnected with Aisha, my roommate from law school, who once dyed her hair bright red during finals because she said crisis makes me creative. She laughed when I told her everything that went down. "You were always the backbone," she said. "They just thought you were furniture." God, I missed her. We planned monthly wine nights, just us. No guilt, no drama, no emotional landmines. One night in mid-April, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, pale blue envelope, no return address. I opened it carefully, expecting some distant cousin's wedding invite, but it was from Ellie. Crayon scribbled glitter stuck to everything and the words, "Aunt Jazz, I made the honor roll. I wore the sparkly shoes you gave me. I miss you. Do you still miss me? Can I come visit you sometime? Mommy said maybe if you say yes." My breath caught in my throat. She remembered. Through everything, through the mess, through the silence and manipulation, she still knew I loved her. I didn't call Shauna, but I wrote back, "Ellie, I'm so proud of you. I wear sparkly shoes too when I need to feel brave. Tell your mom she has my number. She can call me anytime. Love you always. Aunt Jazz." Simple, direct, no theatrics, just a door not open wide but cracked, for Ellie. A few days later, my phone rang. It was Shauna. She didn't waste time with fake pleasantries. She said, "I know you don't trust me, and I don't blame you, but Ellie's asking every day. If there's a chance, even a small one, that we can do this differently, I'm asking for it." And I believed her, not because she deserved it, but because I knew what Ellie deserved. We set ground rules. No Diane, no drama, no using Ellie to get back in. Just me and her, and the little girl who never should have been caught in the crossfire. The first visit was awkward. Ellie brought cupcakes she decorated herself, sprinkles everywhere. She hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. She whispered, "I told my teacher my aunt is a superhero." I didn't cry in front of her, but later after she left I did. Because damn it, that's the only title I've ever really wanted. By May, the family name had gone quiet. The lawsuits died down. The group texts turned into ghosts. And Diane? She sent one more message, this time through a mutual family friend. "Just a short note, I hope you're happy. You destroyed us." I didn't reply, but I laughed, because they were never whole to begin with. They just kept taping themselves together with my sanity. And now I was the one intact. The last thing I did that spring, I framed a photo. Ellie covered in cupcake frosting, holding a sign that read, "I love you bigger than pizza." It sits on my desk at work right next to the plaque that says Partner Jasmine Hartley SQ. And sometimes when I'm tired or angry or doubting everything, I look at it and I remember. I didn't lose a family, I reclaimed myself. Last Friday, I stood at the edge of the Hudson River with a coffee in one hand and a legal envelope in the other. I wasn't nervous, I wasn't sad, I was just ready. Ready to end this story the way it should have started, on my own terms. You know what nobody tells you about finally breaking free? There's no parade, no closing credits, no big music swell as you walk into the sunset. It's quieter than that, weirder. It sneaks up on you in the middle of mundane moments like brushing your teeth or waiting for the crosswalk light. It whispers you're not scared anymore. And you realize slowly but undeniably that you're not. That envelope I was holding, it was the final paperwork. A single notarized document dissolving the last remaining financial ties to the Hartleys. Old tax stuff. An outdated emergency clause. The last thread. I didn't even need to open it. I knew what it said. I just wanted to feel the weight of it one more time before mailing it out. Not because I had doubts, but because this wasn't just about paperwork. It was about ownership. This was me owning every version of who I'd been, who they thought I was, and who I'd finally become. Later that night, I had dinner with Shauna and Ellie again. Nothing fancy, just Chinese takeout and juice boxes. Ellie brought a glitter notebook and asked if she could write a story. "About you," she said. "About when you saved the day." I smiled. "Did I?" She shrugged. "You made the bad guys leave. That's what superheroes do." God, that hit harder than I expected. Because I'd spent so long thinking I was the villain in their version of the story. Too cold, too sharp, too independent. But Ellie didn't see that. She saw someone who stood up when it was easier to shut up. Someone who left when it was easier to stay and keep the peace. She saw the truth. The next day I got another letter. Not handwritten, not floral, not scented with guilt. Just clean type, a formal tone. From Wallace. I know it's too late to fix things, but I want to thank you. You didn't destroy this family. You exposed what was already broken. And somewhere deep down, I think we all knew you were the only one strong enough to do it. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I hope you find the peace we never gave you. No excuses, no blame shifting, just accountability. It didn't fix anything, but it landed softly, and for the first time I didn't reject it. I just accepted it, tucked it into the back of my filing drawer, and moved on. I'm not saying it's all perfect now. I still have moments, days where I second guess, nights where I wake up from dreams full of old arguments and unfinished fights. But they don't stick the way they used to. They don't own me, because now I own myself. I started volunteering at a legal aid clinic twice a month, helping women who are getting out of abusive financial situations. Some of them still think family means survival. I get it. But I also tell them clear as day, you don't owe anyone your peace just because they share your DNA. One of them cried when I said that. She asked me how long it took to believe it. Too long, I said, but I'm here now. Shauna and I aren't best friends. We don't pretend to be. But we're real now. We meet up for lunch sometimes. We talk about Ellie, about therapy, about how to break cycles before they break people. She admitted something to me once that stuck. I think we all knew you'd leave eventually. We just didn't expect you to do it so gracefully. That's what hurt the most. We couldn't call it a meltdown. We had to call it maturity. That made me laugh. Grace wasn't the goal, but I'll take it. Ellie, though, she's everything. We made a tradition. Every Friday, she sends me one good thing from her week. A drawing, a joke, a photo of her dog in a tutu, and I send her one back. Last week, I sent her a picture of me in my office, feet up, wearing sparkly silver heels. She replied, "You look like a boss." Hell yeah, I do. And Diane, gone silent. Maybe she's embarrassed. Maybe she's still spinning a new version of the story. One where I'm cruel and cold and ungrateful. Let her. Because here's the thing I've learned. You don't get to rewrite me just because you don't like how I ended your chapter. You don't get to tell the world who I am. I do that now. And the version I'm writing. She's strong. She's soft where she wants to be, sharp where she needs to be. She gives where it's safe, not where it's demanded. She doesn't beg to be loved. She chooses to be free. A few nights ago, I stood at my apartment window again. The city was buzzing below, neon signs blinking like breathing. I pressed my hand to the glass and whispered the words I'd been holding for years. I don't hate you. I just don't belong to you anymore. And then I went to bed. No tears, no rage, no regrets. Just stillness. This is not a revenge story. It's a resurrection. This isn't about payback. It's about permission. My own. To walk away. To breathe without asking. To exist without apology. Because family isn't who shares your blood. It's who sees your scars and doesn't call them ugly. So if you're listening and you're in that in-between, still checking your phone, still waiting for the apology, still shrinking to stay included, let me say this. You don't have to earn love by breaking yourself into pieces they can digest. You're not selfish. You're healing. And healing looks good on you. This was my story. Messy, real, true. If you stayed through all 6 parts, thank you. Now go write your own and make it loud. Make it soft. Make it anything but small. Because you were never meant to be small. You were meant to be free. Story 2. You ever have one of those days where everything feels off, like the universe is setting you up for a punchline? Yeah, that was the day my car vanished, and with it, whatever respect I had left for my parents. My name's Evan Maddox. I'm 27, live alone in a modest 1-bedroom near the freight yards and work warehouse logistics for a shipping company. Nothing fancy, but it's stable. I pay my bills, mind my business, and take pride in handling my own life. That car, my 17 Subaru Impreza, wasn't just a ride. It was my independence. I still remember the exact moment I realized it was gone. Monday. Late shift. Exhausted. I walked out into the lot, rubbing my eyes and fishing for my keys. I pressed the fob. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. I stood there blinking under the orange streetlight like maybe my car was playing hide and seek. I checked every row. 10 minutes later, I was pacing, heart pounding. Had it been stolen, I called the cops. It wasn't stolen, the officer said. It was sold. Legally. That sentence knocked the air out of me. What do you mean, sold? The vehicle was sold by a registered co-owner. Names listed as Douglas Maddox. My dad. My freaking dad. I didn't scream. I didn't even curse. I just stood there blinking like someone had yanked the floor out from under me. I'd parked the car at their house the night before just for a night. My apartment complex was repaving and I figured it was safer in their driveway than on the street. Safe, right. I had bought that car with my own money. Every payment from my checking account. The only reason my dad's name was on the title was because I'd needed a co-signer at 22. I always meant to transfer the title. Life got busy. Apparently he got greedy. I called them both straight to voicemail. So I did the next thing any betrayed millennial would do. I checked social media. And there they were, poolside at a resort in Cabo, matching sunglasses, matching cocktails. My dad's caption, finally taking the vacation we deserve. I laughed. Out loud. Alone. Standing in a warehouse parking lot in my work boots while they toasted their deserved getaway with my damn car money. By the time they came back 5 days later, I wasn't even angry. I was surgical. I waited in their living room, arms crossed, watching as they breezed through the door like celebrities returning from a press tour. My mom dropped her designer tote on the floor. My dad stretched like he'd just won something. "You'll figure something out," he said, already walking toward the kitchen. "You sold my car," I said. He didn't flinch. "We needed the money more than you needed the car." My mom chimed in without missing a beat. The resort had a last-minute deal, unbelievable price. All-inclusive, once in a lifetime. I let that hang in the air for a second. "So you took a once-in-a-lifetime vacation," I said slowly, "by selling my only form of transportation." "Oh, don't be dramatic," my dad said. "You're always using our place anyway. What's the difference?" I stared at them. They didn't see it yet. They didn't know something in me had cracked clean in two. "You mean when you keep forwarding my mail here and using my name for bills I didn't sign up for?" I asked. Dad waved his hand like I was being difficult. "You might as well live here." "I moved out 4 years ago," I said flatly. Mom held up a small plastic bag. "We brought you something?" She pulled out a novelty bottle opener shaped like a sombrero. "It's even got your name on it." "Well, Ethan, close enough, right?" It was like watching someone hand you a balloon after lighting your house on fire. And then I saw what was in the other bag behind her. A sleek black box, embossed gold lettering, Louis XIII, cognac, easily worth $3,000. I didn't say a word, I just pointed at the box. "For Uncle Mason," my dad said. "He's always been generous with us." "Right," I said. "So my car's gone, but your alcoholic debt collector gets a $3,000 thank you gift." My mom stepped forward. "Evan, don't be cruel, we're family." "No," I said quietly, "we're not." Silence. My dad's face tightened. "What did you say?" I said we're not a family. Families don't steal from each other. Families don't treat their kids like credit cards. Families ask before they liquidate someone's property for a beach trip. My mom blinked like I'd slapped her. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is," my dad muttered. "It was a car. It was my life, Dad." And then just like that, I was done. Done explaining. Done forgiving. Done playing the dutiful, dependable son they could guilt trip into cleaning up their mess. I took a breath. "I'm giving you one chance to do what my dad asked. Give me back what you owe," I said, "or I take this to court." Their eyes widened. "I've got every receipt, every payment, every maintenance record. That car was mine in everything but name. And guess what? In the eyes of the law, that still counts." "You wouldn't," he said. "Watch me." And then I left. Calm, cold, clear. I thought that would be it. It wasn't. The next morning it started. Bang, bang, bang. Not knocking, banging. 6 a.m. I already knew. I opened the door wearing flannel pants and last night's resentment. There stood my parents side by side like some bad sitcom reunion. My mom's arms were folded so tight her knuckles had gone white. My dad pushed past me before I could say a word. "We need to talk," he barked, already marching to my kitchen like he owned it. "Sure," I said, following him in. "Let me just get the popcorn." Mom trailed behind, her voice sharp and full of preloaded guilt. "This has gone far enough, Evan." I poured a glass of water. "You sure? Because it feels like we're just getting started." Dad turned to face me, jaw clenched. "Are you really threatening to sue us? Your own parents? You really sold my car without even texting me?" I shot back. "Your own son?" He scoffed. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I held up my phone, flipping to my banking app. "This right here? Every single payment for that car came out of my pocket. You didn't chip in a cent. But you think you get to spend it like you earned it." "That car was under my name legally," he snapped. "Yeah," I said. "And I'm about to let a judge decide how legal it feels when your name's on something you never paid for." My mom gasped. "You're really going to drag us into court?" I looked at her calmly. Did you think I wouldn't? Her face twisted like I'd just cursed at her. We raised you. No, I said, voice cold. You raised an ATM with emotional availability. Watch your mouth, Dad growled. You watch your ego, I replied. Because I'm done playing the obedient backup plan in your messed up family budget. Silence. Long, thick silence. Then Mom softened her voice. We were under stress, Evan. The resort was... It was a chance to reconnect. We were trying to fix things. I tilted my head. Fix what, your tan lines? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Dad stepped forward, trying a new tactic, power play mode. You're not actually going through with this. You don't have the guts. Try me, I said. Because I already talked to a lawyer. That part was a lie. But it worked. He paled just a little. Fine, he muttered. What do you want? I leaned back against the counter. Full market value of the car plus fees for time lost at work. Since I couldn't pick up shifts without transportation. My mom's jaw dropped. That's thousands of dollars. And yet I said you had no problem spending it on a spiritual recharge. Dad shook his head. We don't have it. Then start selling your crap like you sold mine. You're being cruel, Mom said. We're your family. No, I said. You're two people who made a choice. Now I'm making mine. They left after that. No resolution, just tension. The kind that drips from the ceiling and soaks everything around it. I thought that would be the end. It wasn't. That night I got a knock on my door again. This time it wasn't them. It was my Uncle Owen. Now Owen is the Maddox family fixer. Smooth talker, wealthy, wears loafers with no socks and thinks he invented generosity. He came in with that same confident smirk I'd seen at every family gathering, the kind that says, let me show you how to be reasonable. Evan, he said, sliding into my kitchen chair like he belonged there. Let's have a chat. I didn't offer him water or a seat. He helped himself to both. They're a mess, he said plainly. You scared the hell out of them. Good, I said. Not good, he replied. They're your parents, and you're blowing up your family over what, a car? I laughed. Don't do that. Do what? Minimize. That car was my property, my freedom, my income. He sighed. They made a mistake. No, Owen. Buying expired yogurt is a mistake. Selling your son's car for resort cocktails? That's theft. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he dropped the act. They're broke, he said. Maxed out everything. Credit cards, second mortgage, the works. That car, that was the last asset they could liquidate without losing the house. That hit different. It didn't soften me, but it reframed the game. So now I'm supposed to forgive them because they're broke. No, he said, you're supposed to be smarter than this. Oh, I am, I said. Smart enough to know enabling them doesn't fix anything. He leaned forward. I'll pay half. Right now. You drop the lawsuit, they'll apologize. Clean slate. I stared at him. And next time they need money, they won't come to you again. I'll make sure of it. I thought about it, seriously. But then I remembered my dad's voice. We needed the money more than you needed a car. And I saw red. No deal, I said. They fix this, all of it. Or they get dragged into court. Owen stood up slowly. You do this, Evan, you burn the bridge. I nodded. Then hand me the match. The next week was a circus. Texts, calls, emails. My cousin Jamie messaged me, yo, you really suing your parents? Aunt Leah sent me a prayer gift with the words, family is forever. Grandma left a voicemail that began with, sweetheart, I don't understand taxes, but I know love. I didn't respond to any of it until I got a text from Dad. You do this, you're dead to us. I replied with 4 words, see you in court. The lawyer I finally hired, Jillian, was sharp, no nonsense, and exactly the kind of professional my dad would hate. We built the case piece by piece. Loan receipts, car payments, insurance records, photos, maintenance bills, texts, even old emails I'd sent reminding him the title needed to be transferred. This isn't just winnable, she said, it's a slam dunk. We filed. 2 days later, my parents officially lawyered up. And just like that, things got very real. They tried to settle. Offered me $300 and what they called emotional closure. I emailed back 1 word, denied. They say family disputes get ugly in court. They were wrong. It was worse than ugly. It was quiet, uncomfortably quiet. The kind of silence that hums in your ears and forces everyone to hear the things they've been pretending not to. The hearing was scheduled for 10:15 a.m. sharp. I got their early suit-pressed documents in a sleek folder. Not because I was trying to impress anyone, but because I knew my dad hated losing to people who looked put together. They showed up 5 minutes late. No lawyer. Just them. No bags. No folders. Just stress lines and a last-ditch hope that I might back down in the hallway. I didn't. We sat across from each other in the hearing room like strangers waiting to be called by the same name. When the judge entered, everyone stood, even my dad, reluctantly. "Case of Evan Maddox versus Douglas and Lydia Maddox," the clerk called out. My heart thumped once, then it steadied. Game time. I let Jillian do the talking. She was brilliant, clear, confident, relentless. She laid out the timeline with precision: car purchased at 22, financed entirely by me, loan co-signed by Douglas, all payments from my account, maintenance and insurance under my name, full loan satisfaction 2 years ago. She presented evidence like it was dominoes, each one clicking neatly into place, toppling into the next. Then she dropped the bomb. "Your Honor," she said, sliding forward a stack of bank statements, "here is every payment made toward the vehicle, along with the original sale documents showing Mr. Maddox as co-signer only." The judge barely looked up. "Anything else?" "One more thing," she said. "This notarized record of a message from the defendants confirming they sold the car." I'd screenshotted my dad's text. "We needed the money more than you needed a car." The judge read it. He didn't even blink. Then he turned to my parents. "Mr. and Mrs. Maddox, do you have representation?" "No, Your Honor," my mom said quietly. "Would you like a continuance to secure counsel?" "No," Dad said, jaw clenched. "We'll represent ourselves." The judge nodded. "You may speak." Dad stood. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. The car was legally in my name. My son is overreacting." "And did you sell the vehicle?" "I did." "Did you inform your son beforehand?" "No, but..." "Did he consent to the sale?" "No, but he lived under our roof for years. We supported him. That car was our asset too." The judge raised a brow. "So your defense is that parental support entitles you to sell your adult son's property?" Silence. "I'll remind you," the judge said, turning a page, "this is a civil matter. Emotional context does not override financial responsibility." Then the sentence that sealed it: "I find in favor of the plaintiff." Boom. Just like that. I didn't smile. Didn't gloat. I just inhaled deeply. First time in weeks my lungs didn't feel tight. The court ordered them to pay full market value for the vehicle, $14,300 plus $1,200 in lost income and $750 in emotional damages. They had 60 days, or face wage garnishment and lien proceedings. I walked out without looking back. My mom called after me, "Evan, please." I kept walking. I had nothing left to say, but apparently they did, because that night it exploded. They tried guilt, then rage, then manipulation so thick it came with timestamps. "Dad, you ruined this family." "Mom, we're your parents, don't you care?" "Dad again. If we lose the house, that's on you." I didn't reply, not out of spite, out of self-preservation, because they weren't reaching out to reconcile. They were reaching out to escape consequences. Uncle Owen called again 3 days later. "They're panicking," he said. "Mortgage company is circling. They have no plan." "They had one," I said. "Sell my car and drink it in Cabo. I mean now." I was silent for a moment. Then I asked, "Do you think I did the wrong thing?" He hesitated. That told me everything. I think he said slowly, "You finally did the thing none of us had the guts to do." That landed harder than I expected. Week 5. Payment not made. Jillian filed garnishment paperwork. We submitted an asset inquiry. Turns out my parents had refinanced their house twice in 3 years. Most of the cash went to life upgrades. A boat, designer furniture, 2 separate vacation packages, one labeled wellness retreat. They didn't have savings. They had lifestyle and no cushion. Their wages started getting docked in week 7. That's when the calls stopped. I thought that would bring closure. Instead, it brought something different. Peace. Not celebration, not revenge high, just silence. The kind that doesn't buzz anymore. The kind you don't fill with what-ifs. I started sleeping again. Not because I forgave them, but because I forgave myself for holding on so long. The family fallout was predictable. Aunt May sent a group email titled, "We need to rebuild bridges." Jamie unfollowed me on Instagram. Cousin Danielle posted a quote, "Family isn't blood, it's who stands by you." Thanks, Danielle. You still owe me $40 from the cabin trip. But I didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't post my side. Let them whisper, let them guess. I had nothing left to defend. Then one day I got a text from my mom. Just 5 words. "We're losing the house, help." And for a second I swear a piece of me twisted. The kid part. The one that used to crave approval. But I'd spent years mistaking obligation for love. And that text, it wasn't love, it was leverage. So I typed back exactly what needed to be said. Then get jobs. I did. I hit send and blocked the number. 3 months. That's how long it took for everything to fall apart. Not for me, for them. It started with the foreclosure notice. I didn't find out from them. I found out from the public records site after my lawyer forwarded the update. The house I grew up in, the one my dad swore he'd never leave, was officially going up for auction. Apparently, they'd stopped making mortgage payments the same month the court ordered wage garnishment. Their income was already low, their savings non-existent, and every penny I won was siphoned off their checks like a slow leak in a sinking boat. Uncle Owen texted me just one word, well. No emotion, no lecture, just recognition. They'd hit the iceberg. And I wasn't on that ship anymore. I got one last email before it all went quiet. It was from my mom. No subject line, no greeting, just a wall of text that looked like it had been written in one sitting, probably in a flurry of desperation. Evan, I don't know where to start. We've lost everything. We're living in a rental 2 towns away. It's tiny. We had to sell furniture, the boat, the espresso machine. Your dad is trying to get work again, but nobody's hiring at his age. I don't know what to say. I miss you. Please talk to us. We're still your parents. Doesn't that mean something? I read it 3 times, and I felt nothing. Not hatred, not satisfaction, just absence. The kind of silence that happens when your body finally gives up caring about a fire that already burned itself out. I didn't reply. There wasn't anything left to say that hadn't already been screamed, ignored, or buried under years of manipulation. They made their choices, and for the first time in my life, I'd made mine. So where am I now? Better, stronger, free. I bought a new car. Same model. Different color, it's navy blue, fully paid off, and titled in one name, only mine. Every time I turn the key, I remember what it felt like to lose something because of someone else's entitlement. And every time the engine purrs, I remember that I took it back. Not just the car, control. I started saving for a house. My own. Modest, sure, but real. Not a fantasy built on credit cards and fake wealth. A home that doesn't require pretending or pretending to belong. And the peace, it's loud in the best way. There are no phone calls asking for just a quick transfer. No guilt-tripped dinner invitations that come with a side of manipulation. No more explaining why I don't want to loan money to people who've never paid me back. The absence of drama has become its own kind of reward. Sometimes I still get messages from distant relatives. Your mom's really struggling. She cries all the time. Your dad looks smaller these days. Maybe just talk to them, just once. But here's what I've learned. They don't miss me. They miss what I gave them. Stability. Bailouts. Easy yeses. Someone who took the fall while they booked the flights. Now that it's gone, suddenly I matter. No thanks. I do wonder sometimes if they think about it differently now. If my mom ever looks at her cracked phone screen in that tiny apartment and thinks, we did this. If my dad sitting on that secondhand couch in a place that doesn't even have a backyard finally understands that we needed the money more than you needed a car was the sentence that broke it all. I doubt it. They probably blame me. But that's okay. Because I don't need them to understand. I just needed to stop letting them write the rules. A few weeks ago, I ran into someone who used to work with my dad. Old guy, friendly, recognized me at the gas station and struck up a chat. So how's your dad doing? I paused for half a second. Then I smiled politely. I wouldn't know. The man blinked, caught off guard. Then he nodded slowly. Guess things change, huh? Yeah, I said. Sometimes for the better. He looked at me for a long second, then said, you look lighter. And that hit. Because I felt it too. The weirdest part of all this, there's no big dramatic ending. No slow motion walkout. No thunderstorm on the day they moved out of their house. No symbolic message or sudden apology from my dad realizing he messed up. Just a quiet final understanding. I stopped showing up. Stopped answering. Stopped playing my assigned role in a family that never saw me as a person, only a plan B. And in that silence, I found something better than revenge. I found peace. So Reddit, YouTube, wherever this ends up. No, I don't feel guilty. No, I don't cry about it anymore. No, I don't miss people who sold me out for a minibar and an ocean view. I miss the idea of family, but I don't miss them. And honestly, I think that's what healing looks like. Not revenge, not rage, just not needing the people who used to own your silence. They needed the money more than I needed a car. Sure, but I needed boundaries more than they needed another bailout. Story 3. You ever get a gift so bad you start questioning your entire relationship with the person who gave it to you? Yeah, that happened. Hi, I'm Jade. I'm 34, newly married, and 7 months pregnant with my first baby. Yesterday was my baby shower. It was supposed to be beautiful, emotional, celebratory. Instead, it turned into the moment I snapped after years of pretending everything was fine. Let me set the scene. The backyard was strung with fairy lights, pastel decorations everywhere, and a big sign that read, "Welcome Baby Bean." People I loved were there. My husband, co-workers, neighbors, my in-laws, and of course my older sister Tessa. She walked in late oversized sunglasses on sipping iced coffee like she owned the place. She didn't even say congratulations, but whatever. I smiled, hugged her, and tried to let it go. I've been letting things go for years when it comes to Tessa. That's sort of the pattern. She handed me a giant box wrapped in glittery pink paper. "This is going to be hilarious," she whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Open it now." So I did. Right in front of everyone, I tore the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside, a pile of diapers. Used diapers. The room went dead silent for a heartbeat. Then the laughter started. Some people thought it was a prank. Some were just uncomfortable. My mother tried to stifle a chuckle, but even she was shaking. "Tessa." She laughed so hard she had to wipe her eyes. "It's a joke, Jade, lighten up. You're rich. You can buy yourself some real ones, right?" That hit harder than I expected. Because see, that line, "you're rich," has been her excuse for everything. For years. I froze, holding the box like it was radioactive. I looked around. People were watching me, waiting to see if I'd laugh too. I didn't. I gently set the box down and stood up. My heart was pounding, not from embarrassment but from clarity. "Tessa?" I said, smiling sweetly. "That's funny. Almost as funny as the fact that you just lost your house." The laughter died instantly. What she blinked froze in mid-laugh. I turned to the crowd. "Oh, did I not mention that Tessa's been behind on her mortgage for months? I actually bought the deed 6 weeks ago to stop the bank from taking it. Thought I'd be generous and let her stay rent-free a bit longer. But now," I tilted my head, "now I'm reconsidering." She went pale. "You're joking." I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen a few times, and flipped it around. "Nope. Property records. All mine." The air was so still you could hear someone sip their mimosa. "You wouldn't," she said, voice cracking. I shrugged. "I was going to surprise you by giving you the house as a gift. You know, baby to baby. But since you think I should buy my own gifts..." I let it hang. Tessa tried to laugh again, but this time it was brittle like glass cracking. "Come on, don't be dramatic. It was just a joke." "Oh, was it?" I said. "Like the time you accidentally told my boss I was considering quitting when I wasn't. Or when you used my credit to get a car and didn't make a single payment." She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "Nope, you don't get to play victim this time." My dad stood up, probably to say something about being the bigger person, but I cut him off. I've been the bigger person. For years. I co-signed loans, paid her bills, helped her get back into school twice. And what do I get? A box of garbage at the most important celebration of my life. Tessa's voice dropped. "You're really gonna evict your pregnant sister over a joke?" I stared at her. "No, I'm evicting the woman who's been emotionally leeching off me since college." "You've got 1 week to move out." My mom gasped. "Sweetheart, don't you think that's a bit harsh?" I turned to her, still calm. "You've got a guest room, right?" She hesitated. "Well, yes." "Great. Tessa has somewhere to go." You could have heard a pin drop. Tessa stormed out 20 minutes later. The rest of the party went on awkwardly at first, but eventually people relaxed again. The food was good, the gifts were thoughtful, and for the first time in years I didn't feel the urge to chase after her. I didn't owe her anything anymore. That night I had 14 missed calls and a dozen texts, some from her, some from my parents, some from people trying to play mediator. I didn't respond. My husband Leo poured me some juice and sat beside me. "You good?" I exhaled slowly. "I think I finally am." But I should have known Tessa wouldn't go quietly. The fallout had just begun. The next morning my phone lit up like it had been set on fire. "Tessa, you're heartless." "I was joking." "You're really gonna make your sister homeless over some diapers." Wow, money really changed you. Then came the guilt missiles from my mom. "Mom, we need to talk. Tessa is devastated. She didn't mean to humiliate you. You're breaking this family apart over a joke." "Right, a joke. Because shoving used diapers in front of your pregnant sister's guests is the universal language of love, right?" I didn't answer, not a single one. Instead, I curled up on the couch with Leo and let it all sink in. That line had finally been crossed, and for once I didn't feel guilty about drawing one back. But it didn't stop there. By lunchtime, I was getting weird texts from mutual friends. "Did you really kick Tessa out over a present? She said you embarrassed her in front of everyone. I thought you were closer than that." Closer. I had been her crutch, her ATM, her emotional punching bag with a polite smile. And now she was running a smear campaign. But here's the thing, I was ready for it. I made a post on my private Instagram. No names, no drama, just facts. If someone gives you used diapers as a baby shower gift and then lies to friends about being evicted over a joke, just know there's always a backstory. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. The comments rolled in. OMG, who would do that? Good for you, mama. Protect your peace. Boundaries are love, especially when you've been the giver for too long. Leo looked up from his phone and smirked. Want popcorn? Looks like the comments section's got your back. I smiled. Let them fight, I'm done explaining. But of course it didn't end there. The parental guilt trip. Olympics. 2 days later, Mom showed up at my house. No text, no call, just appeared like a guilt-laced ghost with a mission. I just want to talk, she said, holding a store-bought lemon tart like a peace offering. I let her in, barely. She perched on the edge of my couch like it was made of lava and sighed loudly. Tessa's a mess. She's been crying non-stop. I raised an eyebrow. Because she has to pack? Because you embarrassed her. In front of the whole family. I laughed once sharp. Oh, you mean like she did to me? At my baby shower? She didn't mean it like that, Mom said, already defensive. Then how did she mean it? I asked. Explain the humor. I'll wait. Silence. Then she tried a new tactic. She's struggling, Jade. She's your sister. She needs help. She's been struggling since 2008. I snapped. How long am I supposed to carry her? She just needs more time. She's had time, and she used it to mock me. Mom leaned forward. Fine, you made your point, but just let her stay one more month. She has nowhere else to go. I stared at her. She still owes me $2,400. She can stay if she pays me back first. Her face tightened like she bit a lemon. You know she can't. Then she can't stay. She stood up abruptly, the tart untouched. You've changed. Yeah, I said. I stopped letting people wipe their feet on me. The pleading, the rage, the cycle. That night Tessa showed up. Again, no warning. Just banging on my door like the cops were coming. I opened it tired before the conversation even started. I cannot believe you're doing this, she said, barging in. To your own sister. I folded my arms. Nice to see you too. I was joking, she insisted. God, you're so sensitive. You brought a box of trash to my baby shower and laughed in my face. It was a prank. No, a prank is putting googly eyes on my ultrasound. What you did was a power move. You wanted people to laugh at me. She hesitated, then tried another angle. Please, Jade, I've got nowhere else to go. There's a guest room at Mom and Dad's, I said. They offered. Her nose crinkled like I'd suggested living in a sewer. They're impossible. They nag, they judge. Oh, so you mean they expect effort? I said sweetly. Her eyes welled up with tears. Real ones this time or good fakes? I can't go back there. Just give me a little time. I'll pay you back. I'll get a job. I swear. You swear? I asked. Like you did last time and the time before that. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I exhaled. You have 5 days left. That's more than generous. You're cold, she hissed. No, I'm done. She stomped out, slamming the door so hard it rattled my baby mobile. The smear campaign intensifies. Over the next few days, things got weird. A cousin texted me out of nowhere. Hey, did you really buy Tessa's house just to kick her out? An old friend messaged. I heard you exposed her in front of everyone to get revenge. That true. I knew exactly what was happening. Tessa was flipping the narrative. Suddenly, she wasn't the petty sister with a superiority complex. She was the poor homeless woman with a cruel sister who humiliated her just to show off. Classic, predictable, Tessa. So I responded the way she hates most, calmly with receipts. I texted a few of the louder gossips. Here's the property record showing she was months behind. I bought it to save the house. She repaid me with a stunt involving biohazard materials at my baby shower. Silence. Then, oh wow, I didn't know the whole story. That's disgusting. I'm sorry. Honestly, you've been too nice. Finally, the tide was turning. Leo glanced at my phone while we were in bed. Think she's done yet? I laughed softly. She hasn't even started. Because if there's one thing Tessa hates more than being ignored, it's being irrelevant. You know what happens when a manipulator runs out of options? They get creative. Tessa had 4 days left to move out. That was the deadline. I had said it calmly with no drama, no yelling. I didn't even post about it online. I just wanted peace. But Tessa, she treated it like an apocalypse. The morning after our last blow-up, my dad called me for the first time in months. Jade, she's your sister. I pinched the bridge of my nose and he paused like that answer wasn't enough. She's scared. She's overwhelmed. And she's saying you're being vindictive. Ah, there it is, I muttered. The V word. Jade. Dad, let me ask you something. If I had humiliated her in front of everyone, then turned around and asked her for free housing and money, would you be calling her right now to defend me? He was quiet. That's what I thought. Click. I didn't slam the phone down. I didn't cry. I just sat there sipping my ginger tea and felt the smallest flicker of something that looked suspiciously like self-respect. But the storm hadn't peaked yet. Day 3. Social media damage control. Tessa posted a crying selfie on Facebook. Caption: when you realize your own sister would rather see you on the street than forgive a mistake. Some people let money turn them cold. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Comments from her circle of enablers poured in. You don't deserve this, babe. She's always been jealous. You're the real one. Just wait, karma gets the selfish ones. Leo found me staring at my phone, jaw clenched. Want me to comment a diaper emoji, he offered. I snorted, tempting. Instead, I sent one message, just one. If you keep lying on social media, I'll post the receipts, including your overdue bills eviction notice and the $400 you still owe me. Choose wisely. She blocked me 5 minutes later. Silence never looked so good. Day 2. The ambush. Saturday morning, Leo and I were out running errands when I got a call from my mom. Again. Can you stop by? Just for a bit, we need to talk. The tone said casual. The gut said trap. Against my better judgment, I went. Tessa was already there, sitting on the living room couch like a weeping statue. Tissues, puffy eyes, oversized hoodie for maximum sympathy. I didn't sit. Mom stood nearby, arms crossed. Jade, this has gone too far, she began. Which part, I asked. The part where she tried to humiliate me in front of my friends? Or the part where she spun a sob story online? Tessa sniffled. I apologized. You said lighten up, that's not an apology. I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't mean to get caught. Mom stepped between us. You're not blameless either. That stopped me cold. Excuse me? You knew she was struggling. You let it build up instead of talking to her. I blinked. Oh, I did talk. For years. I talked when I co-signed her loan, when I paid her tuition, when I covered her rent and bought her groceries. But every time I said no, she acted like I stabbed her. I turned to Tessa. You never needed a sister. You needed a lifeline. And I finally cut the rope. Tessa's voice cracked. You're enjoying this. No, I'm surviving this. And then I left. Again, no drama, no slam doors, just me choosing not to be dragged back into the fire I didn't start. Day 1. Checkmate. The final night before her eviction deadline, Leo and I were watching a show when someone knocked on the door. It was late, I already knew. Tessa stood on the porch, rain matting her hair, one suitcase in hand, a scene straight out of a pity movie monologue. Can I come in? She whispered. I didn't move. Why? I've got nowhere to go. Mom and Dad are suffocating me. I can't do it. That's not my problem, I said gently. Please, Jade. I'll get a job. I'll pay back the loan. Just give me a few weeks. I'll sleep on the couch. You won't even know I'm here. I looked her in the eyes. You had a house. You had time. You had warning. And you had a choice. You chose pride. You chose cruelty. And now you want mercy. Her lip quivered. So that's it? You're leaving me on the street? No. I gave you options. You're just mad I'm not one of them anymore. She looked at me like she didn't recognize who I'd become. I guess in some ways I didn't either. Goodbye, Tessa. I closed the door. Not slammed, just closed. The move out. Sunday morning I drove by the house. Not to gloat, just to make sure the handoff to the new tenant went smoothly. Tessa was gone. The yard was quiet. A for rent sign still fluttered on the lawn, but the house looked peaceful for the first time in years. Mom texted later. She moved in with some friend. She's upset, but she'll survive. For once I didn't feel guilty. I felt relief. That night I finally slept through the night. No anxiety, no guilt, no second guessing. Just rest. The aftershock. 2 weeks later I got a letter. Handwritten. Tessa's loopy handwriting. I know I messed up. I was jealous. I thought life would catch me eventually. I didn't expect it to be you who let me fall, but maybe I needed that. I don't hate you. I'm just not ready to say thank you either, but maybe someday. I read it twice, folded it neatly, tucked it in a drawer. Not for forgiveness, just closure. 3 months later, everything was different. The nursery was painted. The crib was built. Leo had installed a galaxy projector on the ceiling, and I'd filled the drawers with tiny onesies and burp cloths that still had the tags on. Peace lived in the quiet corners of our home. For the first time in years, I could breathe without waiting for the next crisis. I hadn't heard from Tessa since the letter. Not a text, not a call, not a cryptic emoji-filled Instagram story. And honestly, It was bliss. She was out of my house, off my shoulders, and finally out of my head. At least I thought she was, until my phone buzzed one evening and her name appeared on the screen like a ghost you thought you buried. Tessa. Hey sis, I miss you, how's the baby? I stared at it for a full minute trying to figure out if it was a prank. It wasn't. She'd unblocked me, which meant this wasn't an accident. Leo glanced over from the kitchen. Everything okay? I turned the screen toward him. Guess who's resurrected from the dead? He sighed. Block her again. I want to see where this goes first. An hour later, another message popped up. Tessa, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I know I hurt you. I know I messed up. I want to make it right. Can we talk? Part of me wanted to delete it on sight. The other part honestly wanted to see just how far she was willing to go this time. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I put my phone down, picked up my daughter, and walked to the nursery. I rocked her slowly, watching soft stars drift across the ceiling. She cooed in my arms, one tiny fist gripping the edge of my shirt. This was my peace. This was my reason. And I wasn't going to let anyone ruin it, not even blood. Especially not blood. The twist in her tone. The next morning, I woke up to a longer message. Tessa, I'm living with a friend, but it's temporary. I lost my job at the cafe. I've been applying everywhere. It's just hard, I don't expect you to fix everything. But I was wondering if I could stay with you for a few weeks, just until I get back on my feet. I'll pay rent, I'll help with the baby, I promise. There it was, the ask. I let the message sit. I made coffee, fed the baby, changed 2 diapers. Then I typed, me. You burned that bridge, Tessa. You didn't just hurt me. You humiliated me in front of everyone I love, and then lied about it. You used me. Repeatedly. And only now that you have no one else, you want to make it right. She read it instantly. Those 3 little dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Then silence. I waited 5 minutes, 10. Then she tried again. Tessa, you're not even going to give me a chance. After everything we've been through. I stared at her words. Everything we've been through was such a neat little phrase to wrap around years of exploitation, gaslighting, and fake apologies. So I sent one final message. Me. You don't get to rewrite history. This isn't about revenge. It's about boundaries. I don't trust you, and I'm not putting my family through that again. I hope you figure things out, but not in my house, not in my life, not anymore. Then I blocked her. Again. And this time I didn't second guess it. The new piece. It's been 6 months since that message. Tessa hasn't tried to contact me again. Maybe she got the message. Maybe she found another target. Maybe she's off telling someone else her story, the one where I'm the villain and she's just a misunderstood older sister. I don't care, because now, my life is full, not with noise or chaos or guilt, but with late-night feedings and sleepy giggles and a husband who supports me in ways no one ever did growing up. Our daughter's middle name is Grace, not after anyone in my family, but for the grace I gave myself when I finally let go. People still ask about Tessa sometimes. Friends, relatives, strangers from back when our lives were more publicly entwined. Do you talk to your sister? Do you think she's changed? Would you ever forgive her? And the answer is simple. I don't know who she is anymore. And I don't need to, because I know who I am now. I'm the woman who stopped apologizing for drawing the line. I'm the woman who realized being strong doesn't mean staying silent. I'm the woman who learned that sometimes family isn't who shares your blood. It's who shows up. Epilogue. Last week my mom texted me. No Tessa updates. No guilt. Just a photo of a baby blanket I used to sleep with when I was little. Found this in storage. Thought you might want it for Grace. That was it. And for the first time in a long time, it didn't come with strings. No hidden agenda. No pressure to fix anything. I thanked her. Maybe things won't be perfect, but I'm okay with that, because I'm building a new legacy. One not shaped by guilt or obligation or survival, but by choice, by peace, by love. And maybe one day when Grace is old enough to ask about the people we don't talk to, I'll tell her the truth. That sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away and never look back.